a religious and scientific center of the Incas. The ancient city of the wonders of the world is hidden on a mountain peak, Peru's most visited tourist paradise. In the documentary series, where we examine the new 7 wonders of the world, we continue to move backward again, according to the year of construction, while examining the wonders. Our next guest will be Machu Picchu, the ancient city in Peru, founded in 1450. Machu Picchu, one of the cities where the Inca Empire, one of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, once lived, is located 80 kilometers northwest of Cuzco, Peru, on the high Andes Mountains of the Urubamba Valley. The city is surrounded by the Urubamba River on 3 sides. The city is 450 meters above the river and 2,430 meters above sea level. The construction of Machu Picchu, which means Old Hill and is considered an ancient city, actually dates back to 1450 AD, not prehistory. The ancient city disappeared for a while and was forgotten by humanity for hundreds of years until its discovery by American explorer Hiram Bingham in 1911. Following its discovery, UNESCO listed it as a World Heritage Site in 1983, and in 2007 it was voted one of the new 7 wonders of the world in a worldwide vote. Why was Machu Picchu built on such a high mountain? Machu Picchu, one of the most important cities of the Inca Empire from 1438 until its disintegration in 1533 after the Spanish invasion, was founded in 1450 by the Inca Emperor Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui. However, thanks to radiocarbon dating studies conducted in 2021, it is thought that it may have been built sometime between 1420 and 1450. Detailed research on the ancient city has revealed that the emperor built Machu Picchu for religious ceremonies and astronomical research, and that only the elite lived there. Previously, it was thought that the city was the capital and that it was built so high to provide a protected structure. Machu Picchu was abandoned long before the Spanish invasion that ended the Incas. It is thought that this was because travelers who came to the continent before the invasion spread infectious diseases in the region, and the people living here had to leave the city because of these diseases. In addition, when the Spanish arrived in the Inca region, Machu Picchu had already been abandoned, so the city was never found by the invaders. Thus, the existence of the city was forgotten for about 400 years, and Machu Picchu has survived to the present day more intact than other Inca cities, because the Spaniards were burning down the cities they entered and carrying out a massacre. Moving on to how Machu Picchu was built and its design to build the city, the Incas turned the mountaintop into a plateau and terraced the land using stone trenches. Stone was the most useful material not only for terracing, but also for building houses, temples, and all other structures. The Incas managed to build an enormous city here with various carvings and shapes. When we look at Machu Picchu in general, we can say that it consists of 2 separate areas. The first is the western side, which consists of buildings placed around a square and built close to each other. The second is the eastern facade, which consists of many terraces where agriculture is practiced. When we look closer at the western facade, we first see the houses built close to the agricultural area. Stone walls surrounded the houses. Servants generally inhabited the dwellings here. Just below the dwellings are the Sun Temple and the building where rituals were performed, as well as the royal palace and the royal cemetery. A little further down the hillside is the building for prisoners. They used it for criminals and those who entered the city illegally. Next to it are the buildings for artisans and manufacturers. In the center is the main square, above which rises the Temple of the 3 Windows where astronomical activities were carried out, the main temple, and the Intihuatana. At the end of the buildings is the Sacred Rock. The buildings were all designed according to the position of the stars and the sun. From the windows, they could watch the constellation of stars they had chosen or watch the sunrise and sunset thanks to the angle they adjusted. It is even thought that the sunstone, the Intihuatana, was designed by the Incas as an astronomical clock or calendar, so much so that at noon on November 1st and January 30th, the sun is almost directly above the stone and does not cast a shadow. On June 21st, the longest shadow falls on the south side, and on December 21st, a much shorter shadow falls on the north side. It is already known that indigenous peoples such as the Incas, Aztecs, and Mayans were scientifically advanced before the Spanish invasion. It is thought that about 750 people lived in the city when it was actively used. Most of them were servants, but the most important settlers were the clergy, who practiced rituals and astronomy. On the eastern side, a system of hundreds of terraces welcomes us. Although the city was sparsely populated, it was important to provide food and especially fresh water. The upper terraces were designed to collect fresh water when it rained. The lower terraces were used for agricultural activity. The region's temperature of 20 to 23 degrees Celsius for 12 months, and the dense forests ensured that the city received abundant rainfall and the Incas had no water problems. However, since the area available for agriculture was only 12,000 square meters, the city still had to import food from outside the valley. In addition, the discovery of animal bones, which were found to not belong to the region during the excavations here, reveals that animal husbandry was also practiced in Machu Picchu. There is also a cemetery in the middle of the agricultural land where the servants were buried, and a guardhouse next to it to keep watch over the land. At the end where the buildings in the west meet the agricultural land in the east is the entrance gate, the only entrance to the city. A separate road leads to the mountain peak rising right next to the city. The Incas called this peak Huayna Picchu, or New Hill. They built smaller settlements on this hill. There is an interesting story about the discovery of Machu Picchu. I told you that the city was discovered in 1911 by the American explorer Hiram Bingham. But to find the city, Hiram told the locals that he was looking for the capital of the Incas, and the locals took him to Machu Picchu, so the locals knew the location of the city. Hiram also found the inscription Agustin Lizarraga 1902, written in charcoal on the wall of the Temple of the Three Windows, which was thought to belong to a Peruvian explorer and farmer. He wrote it down in his notes and even photographed it with his military escort. So he was not the first to discover the city, but by announcing to the world that he had found the capital of the Incas, and by making Machu Picchu known, he established himself as its discoverer. In fact, Hiram himself started the first excavation in the city in 1912. In 1912, 1914, and 1915, Hiram removed thousands of artifacts from Machu Picchu. Among them were ceramic vessels, silver statues, jewelry, and human bones. He said he took them all to Yale University, supposedly for 18 months, for further study. However, Yale kept all the artifacts until 2012. He claimed that Peru lacked the infrastructure and systems to protect the artifacts. For a time, Peru accused Yale of profiting from its cultural heritage. In response, Yale returned some of the artifacts in 2006, but continued to keep the rest. In 2007, a traveling exhibition, a new museum, and a research center began to be built in Cusco, Peru. Yale thus recognized Peru's ownership of all the objects. The remaining artifacts were fully returned to Peru in 2010 and 2012. In 1981, the Peruvian government declared the 326 square kilometers surrounding Machu Picchu a historic sanctuary. The aim was to protect the city, as well as the tropical vegetation with wildlife such as the Andean fox, puma, and spectacled bear. In 1983, UNESCO declared Machu Picchu a World Heritage Site, describing it as an absolute architectural masterpiece and a unique testimony to Inca civilization. Machu Picchu is one of Peru's biggest tourist attractions. Around 2 million tourists from all over the world come to visit the ancient city every year. To reach the city, you first have to take a train on a narrow-gauge railway and then climb 500 meters. A very small number of visitors prefer to walk 88 kilometers to reach the city without taking the train. During this hike, which takes 3 to 6 days, it is possible to see more different ruins of the Incas. For a while, it was proposed to build a cable car to facilitate transportation, but it was never approved because the tourist density would harm the city. You must also buy a €75 entrance ticket to visit the ancient city. If we ask how the new 7 wonders of the world were determined, the fact that only the pyramids of Giza remained from the wonders of antiquity led to the idea that the 7 wonders should be updated. Thus, a foundation initiated a worldwide vote in 2007 to determine the new 7 wonders of the world in no particular order. The new 7 wonders of the world respectively: the Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, completed in 1931, the Taj Mahal in India, finished in 1643, Machu Picchu, an ancient city in Peru founded in 1450. Chichen Itza, the famous pyramid in Mexico, was built in 600. The Colosseum is a Roman masterpiece in Italy, completed in 80. Petra is another ancient city in Jordan dating back to 312 BC. And the Great Wall of China, a mile-long structure begun in 700 BC, was determined as. In the next documentary, we will visit Chichen Itza, the famous pyramid in Mexico, built in 600. Remember to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss this documentary too.